Tennessean who happened to be born in Houston, Texas. Thank you, Maggie, for what you're doing. And speaking of Patriot Mobile, there's a big meeting tomorrow with me and Patriot Mobile, and soon 2ndVote will be able to be a beneficiary of your donations there as well. And yes, as Fran said, I'm Robert Kuykendall with 2ndVote. 2ndVote is the conservative watchdog for corporate activism. As Fran said, we study corporate political activism and bring the information to the consumers for conservative consumers to make decisions with their dollars, because your dollars are what companies will use when they get involved in political advocacy. We hold companies, we hold charitable organizations accountable, because a lot of times you'll see corporations get involved with charities who actually get engaged with the political process. The reason our organization was started because our founder learned that the March of Dimes was funding Planned Parenthood, and they still give grants to Planned Parenthood every year. We allow conservatives to follow the money, see what their shopping, donated, and invested dollars are doing, and we want people to take action, because only using your dollars to hold companies accountable is the only way we will get them out of the political process. The issues we look at are life, education, marriage, environment, Second Amendment, religious liberty, and immigration. And for those of you who have not been to our website, I really encourage you to go there, because we are an online-based entity, 2ndvote.com, and the main part of our website is a database of over 800 companies that we've scored on these issues. And you can see when we add the numbers together, is this a left-leaning company, a right-leaning company, or a neutral company? So I was going to talk about what we go through looking at these companies, just to give you an idea of our process, and then get to maybe a more real-life application with a more current event. When we research corporations, we look at real data. We don't want to go on conjecture. We want to, when we are engaging companies, when we get our followers, our subscribers to engage companies, we want to use real, citable data. We use IRS Form 990s. Almost every Fortune 500 company has a 501c3 foundation, and we can find just about everything we want to know for free online, and we encourage people to do the same thing. What we find is most people aren't really doing their homework, but that's what 2ndVote was founded to do, is to give you the resources and aggregate this information to be able to be an informed consumer. We look at corporate sponsorships, direct advocacy, annual reports, and with all this we send letters to CEOs and say, why are you doing this? And we give them the chance to correct the record. In fact, when the Starbucks CEO was asked on television last week, why does your company support Planned Parenthood? He said 3 times, I didn't know we did it. Well, 2ndVote's been sending him a letter every year asking why they still fund Planned Parenthood. To give you an example of what we'd be looking at for something like the life issue, we've considered these issues to be fairly broad, and want to see really what a company is really saying when they get involved on an issue. Of course, with life, we're looking at abortion, we're looking at exploitation, human trafficking. Some of the bad actors you see would be Planned Parenthood, Population Services International, some other not so apparent organizations like Girls Inc. and YWCA are very involved on the life issue, promoting the pro-abortion agenda. Then, of course, some of the top supporters of pro-abortion organizations are Patagonia, Starbucks, Wells Fargo, Bath & Body Works, and Jiffy Lube, which is part of the Shell company. And then, of course, you have some charitable organizations that are involved as well. On our scoring scale, we look at a 1 through 5 scale. Direct advocacy for a liberal cause, we get you a 1. On the other side of the scale, a 5 for conservative. A 3, a company that has no activity, is a neutral company, and we think that's a good thing. We want companies to be conservative. but we're just fine with them being neutral. And so that's really part of the approval process is this company a neutral company or not? Some of the examples where you would have an alternative, you have a Starbucks versus Pete's Coffee. I know in Texas you have a few Pete's Coffee. We don't have them in Tennessee yet. But this is to give you an example of where some of these companies would score. Of course, you have Verizon, which would be a 2, a lean liberal company, and Patriot Mobile, a 5. This will give you a little bit of an idea of some of the alternatives we would offer. Unfortunately, banks are some of the worst actors in the world, and there really aren't good alternatives. We encourage you to look at your local community bank where you can hold your dollars accountable with bankers that you know. We use 2ndVote.com as our main platform for messaging outreach, a mobile app that's available for download on Apple and Android systems. And you can see our work in various news outlets on a regular basis. A lot of our work has been used by these outlets to really impact the narrative. And I want to go through a few, I'm going to skip forward a little bit because I'm running a little late on time, but I want to show you how 2ndVote is using some research to be a part of the narrative. And we can come back to a few of these highlights in the past if we get to the end. But I wanted you to watch this clip real quick. So what you just saw was a little project we had some fun with. We had a lot of talk with a lot of reporters around the country saying, well, what's 2ndVote saying about these NFL protests? And we had a lot of people were coming to 2ndVote saying, where are these NFL sponsors? Where are the advertisers on all these issues too? And so we said, well, let's do a Super Bowl ad and see if it gets a little attention. That ad you saw got over 3 million engagements on social media just on a long weekend for the Super Bowl. So that was our Super Bowl ad. And you remember the timeline of what happened with over the last 2 years. In 2016, the Take a Knee protests begin. The viewership drops 8% over the season. And then we really get to September where President Trump, and I don't have to repeat what he says, but President Trump throws down the gauntlet. And in October 2017, 2ndVote uncovered a link. We were actually looking into the advertisers and the sponsors of the NFL because they also sponsor the NFL Players Association. We said, well, the NFLPA is enabling a lot of these protests. What's really behind it here? So we could find this link between the NFLPA, which is an AFL-CIO affiliate, and organizations that were founded by George Soros and the Open Society's foundations. Here's the headline here. This really, to me, I think, changed the narrative. And you can see in the fine print, it says, tax documents released by 2ndVote show NFLPA donated $5,000 in 2015 to the Center for Community Change Action, a group that is active in the anti-Trump resistance and bankrolled by a host of other liberal foundations. Here's the IRS Form 990. You can find it on GuideStar and any other form. It's the NFLPA is funding these groups, and they are connected, and you just follow the money to find these links. Now, November 29th, ESPN reports the NFL is partnering with the players for social justice change. And as part of that, they're going to contribute nearly $100 million to causes. And the NFL was saying at the time, we hope this will effectively end the protest movement. Of course, part of what was not being reported is a major portion of these funds were going to the Dream Corp, which is Van Jones, the avowed communist, and 501c4 activity. And everyone here knows what 501c4 means because you spent 1,500 days. I saw the slide earlier, making sure that you were accredited. But As far as the timeline goes on, the NFL refuses to run an ad for AMVETS, and that's kind of what made us say, let's say, if we're going to stand for something, what are we standing for? Well, we'll stand with vets. And that makes a lot of sense, because that's what the NFL didn't get. The NFL didn't, we weren't mad at the players, but we said there's a reason to be standing up when the when the national anthem plays. But February of this year, nearly 8 million fewer viewers watched the Super Bowl compared to last year. But still, the NFL goes forward, $90 million social justice deal without resolving the anthem protest, and then May 2018, the NFL approves this rule saying, well, we banned on-field protests during the national anthem. And that gives us where we are right now. The season viewership last year dropped 10%. $9 million still going to this so-called Players Coalition, including the C4 activity. Advertisers have actually come out and said they're not really happy with where the NFL is going. DirecTV, Anheuser-Busch, Papa John's, they've all made signals that they aren't doing well. And then we have NBC Universal's marketing executive saying, we will not be part of the NFL if you continue covering it. So what does that mean? It means the NFL heard the message, but they haven't traded up. They have found out that the fans are turning away in droves and are not tuning in, and the advertisers know it, and the owners know it. And so they're approving a new rule. They're hoping people come back, but at the end of the day, there's still $90 million of dollars that comes from ticket sales, advertising dollars, merchandise sales. Those are dollars from the fans that the NFL is funding to George Soros affiliated organizations. We'll see what happens, what the Players Coalition does, but given their past relationships through the NFLPA, we can assume that's what 501c4 money means. Where do we go from here? I'll end with this slide because I think it's important. In 2017, this is just a representation of 2ndVote's interaction online around the country. You can see it's not just in the Southeast, it's not just in Texas, it's also in New York City, it's also in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle. We're not the only ones that are fighting this fight. And that's what I hope to leave you with that, with the understanding of what's really going on behind the scenes with these protests over the last 2 years, but also with the understanding that by holding companies accountable with your dollars, there is an impact to be had, because you and I and those of us in this room aren't the only ones here. And I think I'm out of time, but I'd love to talk with anyone else a little bit longer after this is over and share with you a little bit more about what 2ndVote's doing. So thank you very much.